You ever have one of those moments where you're looking at your life and technically nothing is wrong, but something feels off? You're making money, people respect you, you've accomplished things most people never will, but deep down you have this feeling you just can't shake, that you're supposed to be further along by now. Not because you're comparing yourself to somebody else, but because you know what you're capable of. And that's the frustrating part. When you're struggling, at least the problem is obvious. But when you're trapped in your own potential, that's when it gets a little bit confusing. Because from the outside, it looks like success. But on the inside, it feels like something is being left on the table. And most people think the answer is discipline or strategy or working harder. I don't think that's the problem. I think something deeper is happening. High performers talk about potential all the time. I can do better. I know I can do better. I know I'm capable of more. I just need to be more focused. But have you ever noticed how long some people stay in that conversation? I mean, it could be 5 years, it could be 10 years, sometimes even 20 years. And that same person is always talking about what they're capable of, but they rarely ever become it. So eventually you have to ask a different question. What if the issue isn't capability? What if the issue is something else entirely? Because I've met people with half the intelligence, half the talent, and even less experience who's somehow capable of moving forward. And I've seen the smartest fucking people in the world stay in the same exact position or predicament for years. That's the part that should bother you, because it means talent is not the deciding factor. I grew up in a small town in Georgia, in a place where opportunity was never ever talked about. Most people weren't trying to do shit. They were too busy, or we were too busy trying to survive. So when I was younger, I thought the solution was simple. I'm gonna just leave, make more money, get exposure somehow, and just get around different people. Problem solved, right? But then life happened. I got into entertainment, I started modeling, I moved to LA, I even started working in banking. And then from that point, I slowly started building different businesses. So that put me in rooms that I never ever thought I'd be in as a kid, coming from the background that I just mentioned. And something strange happened. I kept meeting people who had already achieved what I myself and everybody else was chasing. And guess what? A lot of them were still stuck. Different income, different zip code, and even different problems. But they had the same exact ceiling. And that was confusing to me. Because to me, if success was the answer, then why are so many people that are successful still struggling? So this is when I realized something. Most people are not trapped by their circumstances. They're trapped by the person they built to be able to survive those particular circumstances. And that's very, very different, because circumstances can change quickly, but your identity, it usually doesn't. So you can move to a new city, be around different people, even make more money, and still carry those exact same fears, the exact same reactions, and you will keep those exact same limitations. It'll just be dressed up in a better outfit. So that's when I stopped asking, how do people become successful? And then I'm like, why do people still stay the same after they get success? It's kind of funny because some people spend years trying to change their life while protecting the identity that's going to keep them the exact same. I saw this in myself during my years working in Silicon Valley. So from outside, everything looked great. I had a good career. I had a ton of responsibility dealing with wealthy people. And then I had opportunity to be around, like, obviously CEOs, venture capital firms. I mean, president of Ripple. The list goes on. So that's the kind of environment a lot of people would love to be in. But internally, the pressure was stacking up. And what I didn't realize at the time, that my decisions were changing. I became more controlling. I was more reactive. I even became a little bit more cautious, which is unusual for me. It wasn't because I became less capable. It was because pressure was activating the old me from the environment that I just mentioned. So that version was built around survival, around proving myself, around always having to be in control of my environment. And the scary part about all of this was that in my mind, I thought I was being responsible. And that's the thing, most people feel that same way. And that's why you have certain patterns that survive for years. So because of that, here's what I believe now. Potential is one of the most understood words in personal development. People talk about potential like it's something that you can just unlock. I don't think that to be true. I think potential is what remains inaccessible until you unlock the identity for that. I think potential is what remains inaccessible until identity has caught up to it. The reason you're stuck isn't because you lack ability. It's because a part of you is still operating from some of the old rules. It could be rules that may have protected you, rules that might have helped you survive, depending on your environment. And then it could even be rules that may have helped you succeed in life. I don't know. But there are rules that no longer fit where you're trying to go. That's why this video is called Trapped by Your Own Potential. Because potential isn't the prison, identity is. Here's a question I want you to sit with. What if you've already developed enough skills? What if you've already learned a bunch of information? What if you've already read enough books? So then the next one would be, what if the thing slowing you down isn't what you don't know, but who you become when pressure shows up? That's a much harder question, but it's usually the right one. So for the next 48 hours, pay attention to one thing, not your results, not your goals, and not your strategy. Pay attention to yourself when pressure shows up. What version of you appears? The avoider, maybe the controller, maybe the perfectionist. I don't know. I think a big one could be a people pleaser because everybody wants to be liked. So the thing is, just notice it because you cannot outgrow an identity that you can't see. But one quick side note, if you're sitting there thinking, why does this feel uncomfortably specific? That's probably a good sign. Also, your neighbor already subscribed. They're probably pretending they found this channel before you did. So don't let them win. Now back to what I was saying. Most people spend their entire lives trying to unlock potential. I think that's the wrong goal. The goal is actually tapping into the potential that's already there. Because the life you're trying to build, it may not even require a new strategy. It may just require a new relationship with yourself. And that's where this entire series is about to start. It's not going to be about success. It's not going to be about money. It's not even going to be about productivity. It's going to be about how it starts with identity. Because whether people realize this or not, that's the story that you're actually living. If you found this video helpful, share it with a friend that may be struggling with something similar to you are if this video resonated with you. So until next time, take care.